The costume drama Downton Abbey showed a time when the English elite could afford hordes of staff. Upstairs were the Crawley family, and downstairs cooks, butlers and scullery maids. The show told a familiar story of the decline of such professions in the wake of the First World War, or so we thought. In my job at the Financial Times, I occasionally get to glimpse into the working lives of the global elite, and I kept coming across domestic staff in those familiar, yet now somewhat altered roles. House managers dealing with globe-trotting families, Michelin chefs cooking up 5-star meals, all baked beans, and £1,000 an hour tutors helping 4-year-olds get a leg up in life. I wanted to know how those traditional roles had shifted. What are the demands of people using these services today? And what is the relationship between them and their staff?
If you wouldn't do it when you had a child in your care, then you shouldn't be doing it at all.
Now it's, can you run the errands? Can you get the dry cleaning? Can you do the weekly shop?
Nannies are a potent figure in our cultural landscape. From Mary Poppins to Super Nanny, we're bewitched by the idea of an omniscient woman flying into chaotic homes and restoring calm, alongside spoonfuls of sugar.
Just a minute, Sonny.
Parents?
Well now, if you promise to be a good boy, you shall have a tiny little look at them.
Goody!
One such modern-day figure is Helen McCarthy. She's been a nanny for almost 3 decades and is the current title holder for the International Nanny of the Year. She's been looking after 2.5-year-old Alexa since she was a baby. Alexa's parents, who employ Helen 5 days a week, both work in financial services. Nannying is in Helen's blood. Her great-aunt was one for a wealthy family during the Second World War.
In the old days, it was mainly royalty and very well-off people that would have nannies, where today, basically anybody can have a nanny. My families I've worked for have been from teachers to VIPs to lawyers to anybody in finance.
Unlike in her great-aunt's day, qualifications are valued and have indeed proliferated.
The qualification I hold was the be-all and end-all of nanny qualifications. Nannies now have other qualifications. Mine was a 2-year full-time course. It depends what you can learn, but taking care of the most precious item a parent owns, I put that yes, qualifications are extremely important.
The holy grail of nanny training is the NORLAND Institute, established in Britain in 1892. The first of its kind, it raised the status of nannies. 125 years later, it's thriving. With around 100 students, it's a small college, but its intake for 2017 will be more than double what it was 5 years ago. Nicola Light is a 21-year-old student at NORLAND. She knew she wanted to be a nanny since the age of 12. Now she's on a 3-year degree, hoping to get a BA Honours in Early Years Development and Learning, as well as a NORLAND diploma.
We learn about how to write contracts with families and how to read employment contracts and make sure that everyone's happy, because it's not just about the family being happy and it's not just about us being happy. It has to be an agreement that works for everyone.
She's lucky to get into the school. For every place there are 3 applicants. Graduates can earn between £25,000 and £75,000 a year. As part of their education, they learn cookery, baby bathing, baby yoga, self-defence, defensive driving techniques and child development. The original 1892 course was only 6 months, so a lot has changed, although there is still a uniform.
There are quite a few things that we have to abide by when we're at NORLAND, so we don't cross the road unless we're at a proper crossing and we wait for the green man. We don't use our mobile phones in public. I think when you start, it might seem as kind of a bit of a shock, but then actually if you wouldn't let a child do it, and if you wouldn't do it when you had a child in your care, then you shouldn't be doing it at all when you're in uniform, or even in general really, if you want to maintain your integrity.
There's also a greater focus on academia now. The NORLAND course involves rigorous study into child development, safeguarding and psychology. Janet Rose is the college's principal.
Part of our new course content includes the cutting-edge research in relation to what we're learning from the neurosciences. That's now become an integral part of our degree, so that they have a good insight into young children's brain development, for example. But at the same time, that with different changes and advances in, for example, technology. So a new element to the course includes cybersecurity.
This is a job that would be unrecognisable to Diana Watts. The former nanny began looking after a young Lady Carnarvon of Highclere Castle in 1969. Despite completing her years of service, she remains close to the family, who still call her nanny.
I remember the interview greatly. It was a cold winter's day, and I came up to London, and there were 3 little people, and then went out for a walk into Kensington Gardens. And when I got back, the telephone rang, and I answered it. I was just ecstatic. I said, I've been offered a job. I'm going to take it.
The nanny role has always been emotionally fraught. Throughout the years, mothers have fretted about being supplanted by the nanny in their child's affections. For those children with remote parents like the young Winston Churchill, the nanny provided much needed love and comfort. Yet with it came an ambiguity of status. A mother writing in Nursery World magazine in the 1920s fretted over what to call or indeed feed their nanny and whether she would disapprove of the family's friends. In terms of social etiquette, Diana talks of a line that she dared not cross.
You respected your employers, and they respected you. There's a fine line between the nursery and the drawing room, and you didn't go over either way. If we were asked to go into the drawing room to come and join the family for drinks, that was lovely, but you'd never do it of your own accord.
In many ways, Diana marked the end of an era. She represented a kind of role that was being replaced by more casual help, au pairs, babysitters and mothers' helps. Such support became even more common as the 20th century wore on, spreading throughout the middle classes in Britain. With more opportunities to work, the idea of being a career nanny, fully committed to their employer's family, became less compelling. Despite the proliferation of childcare choices today, the appeal of nannies endures, as does the need to navigate family relations. And NORLAND nannies are learning this in the classroom.
A lot of what we would do is practical scenarios with those students. It may be that the family are having family and friends over and they're having an evening and they've invited you to attend. And you're there and you need to ensure that you know where you stand professionally on that evening. Are you there as a guest and you're leaving at the end of the evening, or are you there as someone who's caring for the children whilst the parents are entertaining?
There are more modern challenges too. Wealthier families now tend to travel more, meaning nannies will often fly with them. But technology has allowed parents who are working overseas to remain in touch with their children back home. Such constant communication means parents and their demands are always close by. Helen McCarthy has worked in both the US and the UK. Her experience and that of the nannies she meets confirms a rise in parental expectations.
Nanny used to only look after the children, and now it's, can you run the errands, can you get the dry cleaning, can you do the weekly shop? Can you pay bills? Can you organise the child's social calendar and everything? So I think the expectations are a lot higher. Gone are the days where parents would sort of come up to the nursery, knock on the door and pat the child on the head and then sort of say goodnight and off they go again.
She says it can be a lonely job for some nannies.
You don't have a work team. Also, as we say, there's no HR department. So if you have a problem, you have to go to talk to what we call the big boss, and that is your employers.
Such close arrangements can lead to exploitation.
The area I work in, we have a lot of Filipino housekeepers, nannies, and a lot of Eastern European nannies cleaning houses and doing more chores than a normal nanny would do, and they're probably being paid normally an au pair's wage when they're only meant to work a 30-hour week and not the 60 or 70 hour that most nannies work.
The increased awareness that childhood care and development paves the way for lifelong success and happiness means that training elite nannies has become far more sophisticated, and the demand for quality childcare is only likely to grow. The nannying profession has transformed more into a job and less the vocation or lifelong sacrifice it might have once been. As employees try to impose boundaries between their personal and professional lives to ensure better work-life balance, it's unlikely the kind of nanny that Lady Carnarvon had will return.